Guests of Inside Golf enjoy dining at Sin Sin, the popular Asian fusion restaurant located on Germantown Avenue in the heart of scenic Chestnut Hill.
And now it's time for Teed Off, brought to you by Yingling, America's oldest brewery.
One tournament and none of them playing.
Welcome back to Inside Golf continues today from one of our favorite 19th holes. We're talking about McGurk's Pub and Grill in Fort Washington, right at Bethlehem Pike and Route 73. There's plenty more where that came from. And let's meet our panel here on Teed Off. We have from the Philadelphia Daily News, Mike Kern. Joe Logan is with myphillygolf.com. And Tony Leodora, Golf Talk Live, WNTP, every Saturday morning. Hey, guys, you know, the NFL and the National Football League Players Union are going at it over the collective bargaining agreement. There's talk of a possible lockout, players boycotting, owners boycotting players, the whole mess involving what arguably is America's sport, Mike.
Not it is.
Professional football.
Yeah, no, there's no argument about it.
But we're talking golf, okay?
Right.
What could possibly happen between the PGA Tour and its members, the golfers, to cause such an uproar and possibly, say, players not showing up at tournaments, boycotting? Anything?
Well, the difference is the PGA players are all independent contractors. I mean, even though they're a union but basically,
belong to an association.
Tagger plays for Tagger, I mean, they don't like negotiate a contract together. So I can't see anything. I mean, unless sponsors, even if money were to go down, let's say, players are still going to go out and play. I mean, what's the alternative? You go to Europe and play, or you go to Asia and play, where there's not as much money as there is in the U.S. So.
Unless you're one of the big guys and you get guaranteed money of $3 million, $4 million to show up in Dubai for a week.
But if you're one of the big guys, I don't think you're really worried about it anyway. It's probably more, I don't think in the NFL, the guys who are making $50 million a year are worried about it. They got theirs. It's the poor guy making the $500,000 a year might get cut next year when his knee gets taken out.
Every once in a while, Tony, and it happened again this year, where some players, mainly European players, will protest the number of appearances they're mandated to make in the U.S. to be, quote, members of the PGA Tour. It happened, the big showdown was, I guess what, back in the 80s between Seve Ballesteros and Dean Beeman, and it was a stare down that Beeman won.
You know, if they ever put that kind of restraint more on the players in the United States and saying you've got to play an X amount of tournaments during the year, then you might see some.
You mean designated tournaments or number of tournaments?
Number of tournaments and designated tournaments. Yeah. You may see a quiet storm develop among them where all of a sudden a whole bunch of them pick one tournament and none of them play in it, and they bring that tournament to its knees to show their power. And that's what was in the back of the mind of the PGA Tour officials when they were talking about designated tournaments, and then they backed off from it a little bit, used the excuse that, well, we don't want the tag to be on that this is a weak tournament or whatever.
But don't you think
they were worried about the other thing?
They have a pretty good thing? I mean, they wouldn't go to that
They
degree.
might, but they all have agents.
Right, but don't they all make enough? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point.
A few years ago, didn't Greg Norman sort of take on the PGA Tour? And it was also talk that at the time he was going to maybe try to attract some key players.
Right. He was trying to start something
and have an international tour.
It was sort of like a World Golf Tour. It was crushed by the PGA Tour, and then they turned around and created the World Golf Championships. Exactly. And he's still mad about it, and I don't blame him for being mad about it.
Okay, so he started something, and now the PGA Tour went off and
stole his idea, basically.
Took his idea, and now he's just making wine someplace and selling a lot of shark golf shirts.
I think what Mike said, the thing that could anger players to a certain extent is the tour was talking recently about instituting a rule where you had to play, every player had to play certain tournaments, once every 3 or 4 or 5 years, so that the weaker tournaments would get the powerful, big-name players every now and then. Because among tournaments, there's the haves and the have-nots. And it's the have-nots that have a hard time justifying, they're paying the same amount of money in sponsorships as the haves. And the players said, no, we're not, they didn't like it. The tour backed down. That's about the only thing I could see that could get them unified.
Yeah, like you're not going to tell Tiger and Phil where they're going to play. I don't think that's such a bad idea, really. I know the LPGA, I think, does it, right? I mean, don't they? I think you have to go like once every 4 years. You have to go. I mean, I don't think it's such a bad idea that Phil or Tiger shows up, in name a tournament that they never go to once every 4 years. But that could be the only thing that I could see if you're talking about a power struggle, which is, and I only think you're talking about a few guys. I don't really think you're talking about a big part of the contingent.
I remember a few years ago when, I forget what it was Fincham did that got Tiger mad, and Tiger basically said, oh yeah, I'll just go play golf in Europe. If you don't like it, lump it. Right. And issue over as soon as he said that. That's how much power Tiger had.
Well, if there is a lockout involving the NFL, Tony, there'll be plenty of guys looking for spots in Pro-Am tournaments,
That's
right?
right.
Huh?
That's right.
They don't have to worry about that.
The best thing would be to run a celebrity tournament. You'd be able to fill it right away. You'll have all the guys from the NFL looking
sell
to
it
do
to
something in
television.
there. That's right.
They won't be throwing footballs. They'll be throwing clubs someplace.
That's right.
Inside Golf continues in just a moment.
Teed Off has been taped on location at McGurk's on Bethlehem Pike in Fort Washington, PA. Come to McGurk's to check out all the excitement of March Madness. They feature great drink specials and live music on weekends. Check them out at mcgurkspub.com.
The Philadelphia section of the PGA of America is celebrating 90 years. Since 1921, the professionals of the Philadelphia section have proven themselves to be the players, teachers, managers, and stewards of the game of golf in the Philadelphia area. They are the experts in the game and business of golf. Please join us in celebrating our 90-year commitment to the game of golf.
Colleen Wolf's wardrobe is provided by Adidas, the leader in men's and women's apparel for the athletic golfer. And our thanks to Herb Magee, the coach at Philadelphia University, and good luck to him. I know if Colleen and I had a ballot, he's
I'm
a
voting.
slam dunk.
Right there.
He'd be in there.
That's right. And Harry, we want all of our viewers to go to InsideGolf.net. We have our upcoming schedule. We have photos, videos, everything that you could possibly want.
And speaking of schedules, next week we'll be back with Vince Papale. Take a look at Vince's game. And in 2 weeks, we go to White Clay Creek at Delaware Park. It's a great course. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf. Remember, no matter how bad it's going for you, don't pick up. For Colleen Wolf, I'm Harry Donahue. See you next time on Inside Golf. Inside Golf has been brought to you by Yuengling, America's oldest brewery, and by Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Now fly nonstop on Spirit Airlines. Details at phillytomyrtle.com. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, celebrating 90 years.